Last Friday, we showed you the 158th anniversary ceremony of the Bear River Massacre. In honor of that, a new plaque was put up to better represent the Shoshone tribe story. In tonight's special report, I spoke with those involved in the process to understand the history and the reasons for a new plaque. Just a few miles north of Preston, along the banks of the Bear River, lies this, the site of the largest Native American massacre in the western U.S. It was here that U.S. cavalry soldiers slaughtered some 500 members of the Shoshone tribe. And even now, 158 years later, history lives on. Prayers.
We've continued to live and survive despite the fact we should have been reduced to non-existent.
Speeches.
Coldest winter
And musical tributes
that we
made up one of the ceremonies honoring the 158th anniversary of the Bear River Massacre.
it changed us for good.
It was here
And we must all forgive, but we must not forget.
on January 29th, 1863, that hundreds of Shoshone were camping. Nearby, in these hills, were Colonel Patrick E. Connor and more than 200 U.S. cavalry soldiers.
On that cold January morning, Connor and his men descended from off the bluff and attacked this sleeping Indian village. Sagwitch had woken everyone up and prepared them as good as he could. But what is a bow and an arrow compared to the rifles and sidearms of the soldiers?
After a 4-hour attack, between 400 and 500 Shoshone men, women, and children were killed, as well as 23 U.S. soldiers. There were few survivors, but those who did live would have horrific memories to tell future generations.
Just let me take a minute.
Darren Perry is a descendant of massacre survivors. His great-great-great-grandfather was Chief Sagwitch. Through his ancestors, Darren heard the survivors' stories, including one from a woman named Angie Chi.
She told of running to the river with her newborn baby. There was an overhanging bank. She swam under there to hide, and there was 10 other women with her. Angie Chi's baby started to cry. And Angie Chi lived to be more than 100 years old. She often told the Indian children the stories about having to drown her own baby so the rest of the people that were there with her wouldn't perish.
In 1932, just off Highway 91 outside of Preston, this memorial was put up in honor of the massacre. Tribal representatives at the time attended and a plaque was put up. But it told a different story.
The old plaque was written by a leading citizen in town who had very limited information, and he used the cavalry's officers' corrupt report, and so some of the numbers are wrong, and he said Chief Sagwitch died and he did not die. The wording implies very negative attitude toward the Indians, and we have always been displeased about that.
The original plaque said things such as, quote, Shoshone Indians guilty of hostile attacks on immigrants and settlers, and, quote, combatant women and children. Now, 89 years later, that narrative has been changed. In a separate ceremony held at the memorial site, not only is the anniversary of the massacre being honored, but so is the Shoshone story. Alexis Beckstead is the current president of the Franklin County chapter of the Daughters of Utah Pioneers.
When I became the president, I started coming to the memorials, and in their ceremonies, they would talk about how the Daughters of Utah Pioneer had done them wrong, and it broke my heart because we are not like that.
Alexis set out to correct it, and more than 2 years of work later, a new plaque now sits on the memorial.
We dedicate this plaque to all those who have gone before and all those who will come in the future.
The new plaque reads in part, quote, in memory of the estimated 400 men, women, and children of the northwestern Shoshone Nation who were brutally massacred, The attack took place in the early morning hours against a group of people with limited defense and without peaceful means first being sought.
I think the plaque, they did a wonderful job. I mean, the first sentence says it all.
Oh, I'm really excited, and I'm mostly happy because the Indians are happy.
I think our people are breathing a sigh of relief, like, finally, we're finally getting it right.
Darren says his ancestors would be pleased the Shoshone once again have a voice.
All we've ever wanted to do is tell our story from our unique perspective.
Reporting in Preston, Misty Inglet, KPVI News that works for you. Now, Darren plans to start construction on an amphitheater at the massacre site this spring. And once another $3 million is raised, he also plans to build an interpretive center. To find out how you can donate, you can go to our website, kpvi.com.